You know who I am. You know where to find me. Let's get into it. Now, for those of you who've never been here before, I am very much aware that Umbrella Guy is not going to sit there and watch what I have to say. But if I actually get one person to realize and understand what I'm saying, and maybe that person relays the message, or somebody just gets an insight that they hadn't gotten before. And by the way, this is not bashing that Umbrella Guy. If that's what you're into, this is not the channel for you. But let's get into a couple of things that I wanted to do because they have been on my mind, especially a lot lately. And when I went back to do a little research, I was pretty much convinced that I was not wrong. Now, for those of you who don't know, that Umbrella Guy rose to prominence by doing content on the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. But before he got famous for doing that, I was watching him when pretty much nobody was watching him because he was the only person that was proving my point. Now, in case you have any doubt, yes, I was in favor of Johnny Depp. Not because of the age difference, not because I don't even know. The reason I was in his favor is because I knew the history of Amber Heard, and she has a history of getting a little physical when she doesn't get what she wants. So, I had heard millions of years ago about the story with her and her girlfriend. And so I didn't like her because I don't sympathize with abusers. However, I have to say, and you will see it in a little bit, that there's a difference between reporting on situations like the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation and just simping for one group versus the other because you belong to that group. And I'll get into that in a minute. Umbrella Guy rose to prominence once people started catching on to the whole trial. During the whole trial is when he exploded, basically. And I can prove it to you because if you look at the social blades that I'm going to place on the screen right now, around the time of the whole debate and this commencement of the trial and everything else is when he started getting a lot of fans. And of course, all those fans were out for blood from one side and not the other. I don't care who you believe and who you don't believe. I believe in the evidence. And again, when nobody was paying attention to that Umbrella Guy, he was already posting the screen recordings of the conversations between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And if you listen to those conversations, you realize, yeah, there's a possibility that this is a bad relationship because, sometimes two good people can get together and it doesn't work out. They bring out the worst in each other. I don't think this is that. I think he was made worse by being with her. She enables certain behaviors in him for whatever reason. I'm not going to sit here and speculate that that's exactly what she wanted, but she enables certain behaviors in him that put him in a bad spot. And so, right off the bat, they're not a good combination. But then you have all these situations where she actually tells him, and I don't care who you are. If I listen to this, I listen to the tapes, no lawyers, no extra conversation. If you listen to the tapes, she specifically tells him that nobody's going to believe him because she's a woman and he's a man. Bottom line. So once I heard that, and I found somebody that actually agreed with me, because back in those days, nobody agreed with me. This was back before the trial in Europe. When the whole thing exploded, I was already on his side. And I have not changed my mind the entire time. So, fast forward to now. Johnny Depp wins his trial, and that Umbrella Guy proceeds to basically give a pass to every man that is accused of the same type of behavior, no matter what. That was the one thing, first of all, if you look at the YouTube, that Umbrella Guy's YouTube, which you're seeing right now, you will notice something, and that is that for the last 2 years, the content has been very Amber Heard obsessive. When as before, he used to do content on everybody. Now, you will also notice that he likes to defend J.K. Rowling and Jordan Peterson and Russell Brand, And yeah, I have to side eye anybody that defends any of those three people. I'm just saying. I'm being totally brutally honest. You have a daughter, sir. You happen to have a 7-year-old daughter, and I'm not bringing out anything that you didn't post out there because you posted it on Twitter. And I did show your Twitter, so it is out there, okay? Twitter is not a private entity. Even if you don't have an account on Twitter, and yes, I know it's called X now, but I'm going to call it Twitter because that's what I know it as, and that's what everybody else knows it as. If you do a search on a particular person, even if you don't have a Twitter account, and you hit their tweet, you can see their account. So this is not a private entity. Everybody knows that you are a father of a female child. And I don't know if you haven't noticed this, because you kind of waffle between the two sides, but you're very misogynistic. End of. The best example I can give you is this example, which is going to prove point one. And my point one is the fact that, well, first of all, statistics can be used to be manipulated any way you want. But at the end of the day, statistics don't lie. You decided to quote tweet a person, I don't know who this person is, who was trying to prove the point that women are more abusive than men. Ironically, their own evidence doesn't support that. Oh, because women self-report 12.1% of the time, and men self-report 11.6%. And by the way, I'm trying to remember the numbers. I'm not very good with numbers. But the important thing that I want you to notice when I post the screenshots is that if you look at the percentages of women to men that self-report and whatnot, the numbers are not that different at all. In fact, if you translate those numbers, those percentages into numbers, they're less than 50 people. What did you prove? Oh, women are much more abusive than men. No, actually, if you go and do a little research, and by the way, it took me 2 minutes to go to Google, and all I wrote was abuse by gender, and all these results came out. Persistently, results came out that men were many times over more abusive. If you go to Google, you will see that we have several results where 90% of people who commit violent physical assault are men. Another result, National Center for Injury Prevention and Control, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men. It keeps going, by the way. If you keep looking at other results that I found, you will see, and this one is very interesting. Those national statistics really hurt, don't they? On average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe. I can't use that word here. So, my problem with this is that you are misleading in what you're telling people. And you don't have to. Because here's the thing. I am very much aware that men, in significant numbers, men will not report abuse from women. Unless they're both... the only way men will report abuse is if it's from another man. Most of the time, men are shamed into not reporting abuse. Now, thanks to the Johnny Depp trial, a lot more men are coming forward and telling their stories. But here's the thing. Are you doing more damage than good by what you're doing? Because when you show misleading information, when you skew the observations you make based on the evidence that you provided, you're doing a disservice to both men and women. Then you went ahead and posted something to the effect of, there's 2 things. Abuse is underreported and men are abused. And we should all band together. Well, who wants to band together with a man that continuously thinks that all men are victims and women are always lying? It is what it is. The second reason why I decided to make this video is because you, as I showed on both your YouTube account and your Twitter account, have decided to concentrate your efforts on Amber Heard. The trial was over a year ago, or however long the trial was. And you are still, I mean, everything she does, you have to make a video about it. I understand if you decided that because that's what's bringing you the views, that's what you're going to do. That's one of the reasons why I stopped watching you, because at the end of the day, I'm not interested in somebody that concentrates on one person. There are many channels that do that because that's where the audience is. And what ends up happening more often than not is that when your audience lose interest in the person, your channel tanks. When you started your channel, you did content on everybody. Every single person. You had reports on every single aspect of celebrity and whatnot. And that was a great time. But now, more often than not, and of course, now that Russell Brand is the latest victim, you are creating more content on him. But the reality is that if you look at your channel, I will have to say 70% of your content, maybe 80%, is on Amber Heard. I don't care about Amber Heard. I really don't. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is not because I think you should change your content or not. What I want to ask you is, do you really think that the Amber supporters would be so fired up still to this day if people like you were not giving them the views? It is a reality of life that when you feed the trolls grow. It is. And you have this habit of retweeting people that are supporting Amber to call them out and whatnot. At this point, they're doing it because they know that you're going to react. And when you react, everybody's going to see them and more people are going to follow them. And more people who are out trolling or are Amber supporters are going to post because they're hoping that that umbrella guy will expand their voices. And in this moment, where Twitter is a disaster, where pretty much everybody's invisible now unless they pay $8 a month, people want to get promoted without actually having to spend a dime. It's up to you at the end of the day what you do with your channel. I'm not telling you how to run your channel. What I'm giving you is advice. Eventually, people are going to lose interest on Amber Heard. But if you really love Johnny Depp as much as you do, I would just start ignoring her. He said it. When the trial was over, he said he was moving on with his life. He didn't want to deal with this anymore. You keep bringing it up every week. There is a reason why Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trend every freaking week on Twitter. And it has a lot to do with the content that you provide. There are many other cases where if you want to concentrate, and I understand if you want to concentrate on men being abused because it's not reported on as much as when women get abused, you have so much potential for that particular niche. But you're concentrating on 2 or 3 people, and some of the people that you're concentrating in are now victims, sweetheart. I don't know what to tell you. What I can tell you is that if you only concentrate on 2 or 3 people, as the audience loses interest in those 2 or 3 people, you're going to lose your audience. And if you look at your social blade, you're already starting to see it. I can't wait to see what you guys think about the whole umbrella guy situation. Personally, I'm kind of sad because, again, I used to follow him when he started, and I realize people can always go with the generalization. Well, he's from Texas. What did you expect? And I understand he's right-leaning, okay? I understand he's conservative and whatnot. But at the end of the day, he's a human being just like everybody else, and there is so much potential for what he could be doing if he really wants to concentrate on this area where men don't get as much promotion when they're the ones that are suffering. There's so much potential for him. And he's just concentrating and wasting it on Amber Heard. Thank you for watching, and thank you for my patrons. You have a wonderful day.